Unwrap the magic of Eastland Mall this holiday season. From diamond jewelry to the latest shoes and apparel, we have something for everyone on your list. With over 50 stores, you're sure to find the perfect gift and maybe even something for yourself. When you need a break, sit down to relax in our food court and enjoy a bite to eat. Visit us at 2740 Eastland Mall on South Hamilton Road to wrap up your holiday shopping without fear your items will be lost in transit or not arrive in time. Let the magic begin at Eastland Mall.
In 1966, construction began on Columbus, Ohio's first enclosed shopping center, situated on 60 acres of land in the still rural east side of the city, where the new Interstate 270 was planned to be built. The 950,000 square foot concourse and last 2 of 3 anchors would open on Valentine's Day, 1968. Over the years, the booming neighborhood would eventually become more distressed, and Eastland would see all 4 of its anchor stores close down. The interior would make a surprising comeback as independent local retailers began to open in place of national chains. But the mall's owners had begun to neglect the property, leading to legal battles with the city that eventually declared it a public nuisance and ordered closed. For 2 years, Eastland Mall sat abandoned as the city still fought with its owners, with demolition finally beginning in 2025. If you know Ruin Road, you know we value our privacy. In our personal life, it's not always easy to maintain. Whether we know it or not, sites will mine our data like full name, email, health records, and more, which they will sell to scammers, spammers, and anyone else who wants to snoop. That's why we started using Aura, the sponsor of today's video. Aura shows us which data brokers are selling our personal information and automatically submits opt-out requests on our behalf. This not only reduces the amount of spam you'll get, but protects against hackers who can use this information to gain access to our social media, bank accounts, and other sensitive information. Aura also provides a ton of other features bundled into one easy-to-use app at an affordable price. You get antivirus, VPN, password management, parental controls, identity theft insurance, and more without needing to bother with different apps. We all have one or more of these tools already, but not having Aura is like locking the front door and leaving the back door wide open. And if you're a regular viewer, you'll know how often that happens. Like 24-hour security, motion sensors, and guard dogs, Aura is always on, doing the hard work of keeping my info safe so I can focus on other tasks with peace of mind. Relaxing. Ruin Road values our privacy, and we also value yours. Go to aura.com/ruinroad to start a free 2-week trial, also linked below in the description. Planned to be opened in 1967, striking construction workers would delay the concourse's opening for a year, while anchor store Lazarus would open in August 1967, with the other 2 anchors of Sears and JCPenney open concurrently with the mall. The inside was advertised as always being a pleasant 72 degrees. At one end of the mall, local sculptor Charles Van Duzer would make statues of a family in pioneer times, and then at the other was that same family now transported into modern life. The centerpiece of the mall was the 32-foot Almost Magic Wonderfall, an optical illusion of 1,800 nylon strands that radiated 500,000 color prisms, giving the illusion of cascading water. Community events were kicked off immediately, with a wool sewing competition, mobile tuberculosis x-ray unit, and psychedelic paint-in held over the first few months. The mall even sponsored their own softball team, which was regularly in first place through the season. Throughout the 70s, various other annual shows would be held, such as art festivals, watercolor painting, orchid exhibits, dances, choirs, and a mobile home show. Crime in the early years seems to have been mostly regulated to the parking lot, with reports of crashes and stereo thefts. But in January 1969, the police chief for Ohio State University had his personal vehicle stolen when he parked it behind the mall for his wife to drive home. 1972 would see a wave of car thefts from the parking lot, mostly by teenage boys, in one instance crashing the vehicle during their escape. The following year, a man driving his car in the parking lot would suffer a heart attack and crash, but his dog would keep bystanders and paramedics at bay until it finally fled. In December 1974, the car used to abduct 48-year-old Herma Lee Ross was discovered abandoned in Eastland's parking lot. A week prior, 3 people had abducted her from a nearby parking lot, shot her, and dumped her body behind an abandoned school. Alberta Osborne, her son, and a friend were arrested for the crime, the motive being Alberta was having an affair with Herma Lee's husband. In 1976, the mall would be rebranded from Eastland Shopping Center to Eastland Mall. The next year, when next door Fairfield County was discussing implementing a 0.5% sales tax, citizens were in an uproar, pledging to do all of their shopping in nearby Columbus or at this mall instead. The Miss Columbus beauty pageant would be held in the mall in summer 1978, just 1 month after the Buckeye Cowbells would sponsor a beef cook-off here that became an annual tradition. Into the 1980s, numerous events would be continued to be held here, such as a Rubik's Cube-a-thon, a cute kid contest, performances by the Columbus Theater Ballet, and for Valentine's 1982, the We Believe in Marriage Day, which featured a 600-pound wedding cake, one of the largest ever created at that time. In 1987, the 11th annual Ohio State Pipe Smoking Championship was held at Eastland, where whoever could smoke their pipe the longest would win a prize. A coin sweep from the mall fountains would collect almost $450, which were donated to the American Cancer Society in 1988, the same year that the first renovations to the mall were announced. Beginning the following January through November, marble benches and flooring, wall treatments, mobile planters, and 17 skylights, including the center 30 by 110-foot glass pyramid, would be built. In November 1990, 24-year-old Donald Sattler would break into a home, kidnap the 4-year-old child inside in her family's van, and 12 hours later, that girl was found left inside the van unharmed in the parking lot of Eastland Mall. The rest of the decade would be relatively quiet for the mall, which still held annual shows such as the Dahlia Flower Festival that had been held here since its beginning, and in 1997, Princess Diana's traveling dresses were displayed in the concourse. But in 1999, 22-year-old Timothy Towers would hold his ex-girlfriend at gunpoint for 3 hours in the Carlton Cards card shop inside the mall before surrendering to police. The mall itself would become embroiled in a legal battle in the late 90s, when 2 newer malls were built in the Columbus metro region, drawing shoppers away from Eastland and its sibling malls of Westland and Northland. To compete with them, the vacant Woolworths building here would be converted into a 520-seat 9-bay food court. Original developer and owner of the 3 directional malls, Richard Jacobs, would fight against the new mall's developer, Glimcher Realty Trust, both of whom filed multiple lawsuits against each other. But in the end, Jacobs would lose, and turned ownership of all 3 of his malls over to his mortgage lender. Northland Mall would close in 2002, while Eastland would be purchased by Glimcher the following year for almost $30 million, and they set about remodeling the interior to carpet the floors, put a children's play area in the food court, remove plants, add a 4th anchor of Kaufmann's, as well as 10 new exterior-facing stores on the southeastern section of the mall as a streetscape area. During Christmas season of 2007, 2 men got into an argument near where Santa Claus was set up that led to one man pulling a gun and shooting the other in the leg. The first anchor to leave the mall was Lazarus in 2006, and JCPenney announced they would demolish that anchor to create a new, larger anchor store for themselves. But the impending recession would cancel all plans. Eastland's owners would put the mall itself up for auction during the recession, but would receive a single bid of $18 million, which was less than half of the mortgage they owed. So instead, they too turned the property over to the bank and walked away. It was noted the mall still had a low percentage of vacant storefronts at this time, but the following years would begin to see that change. First, a gang shooting in 2014 would continue to give the mall a bad reputation.
It all happened around 4:30 this afternoon inside the mall. Now take a look. Cops had a large portion of Eastland Mall taped off this afternoon after the gunfire. Police said 2 people were shot. They were in serious condition earlier this evening. Now, Jimmy Herridge was shopping inside the mall at the time. He told me he didn't hear any gunshots, but he did see police chasing someone.
Yeah, I see the cops running towards the Pennies. When they got up Pennies, they made a right. They went right.
And did you see who they were running after?
Nope. I think the guys that must have turned the corner before I saw them.
Now, police first said they had 4 people in custody, but later said they had several under arrest. At this point, though, they have not released the names of the 2 people who were hit in that gunfire, and they also have not said who they are questioning right now or whether they have charged anyone. We're continuing to follow this, but for now, reporting live in downtown Columbus, I'm Tom Bosco, Fox.
The following year, the mall was sold for just $9.25 million, and JCPenney would shutter their anchor store, followed by Macy's and Sears in 2017, leaving the mall with no traditional anchors. While normally without the anchors, the interior of the mall will follow suit. But in Eastland's case, local shops began to move into the vacated chain stores, while Eastland Preparatory Academy would move into the empty Macy's anchor in 2018. Despite maintaining a good tenancy rate, Eastland's owners neglected the property and would receive repeated fines for health and safety violations. The city eventually took them to court, and in 2021, a judge would declare the mall a public nuisance. It was planned to close for good on New Year's Eve 2022, but a water line would break and flood the concourse, shuttering it 4 days earlier than planned.
Eastland Mall will officially close Saturday after more than 50 years.
Despite revitalization efforts, the mall will close this week.
We've been talking with the property owners. When we first learned earlier in the fall about their plans to shut down the mall and potentially demolish it, we're more concerned with the small businesses that are operating within that mall and wanted to make sure that the owners kept it open through the holiday season, because that is such a make or break season for those small businesses.
Right now, there is no official plan for what will become of the property.
An auto repair shop would eventually take over the Sears building, while a liquidation auction would try to sell mall fixtures and whatever else had been left. As the mall sat abandoned, the owners would continue to be fined, with the city threatening to take control of the property until finally, the very same week the mall would have been celebrating its 57th anniversary, Phase 1 of Demolition would begin.
First at 4, wrecking crews began work this week, tearing down the former Eastland Mall. The once bustling shopping center must be torn down by September of this year, per a court order.
Phase 2, which will remove the rest of the mall, will commence in summer 2025, while Eastland Prep is on summer vacation. No concrete plans for the future of the site have been released, with the city only stating it will be a revitalized community environment. Eastland Mall would be the first enclosed shopping center in Columbus, Ohio, outlasting its 2 other sibling malls. Today, just the 2 newer malls of Polaris and Tuttle Crossing remain, though each of those has had some difficulty as more and more residents of Columbus choose to do their shopping online.
Did you?
Yeah, from Groovy Man.